Welcome back, everybody, to my channel, Kingdom Preparation. Video number 2, I guess. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to do a lot, but there's a lot to be done. As the title of my channel intimates, this was about preparing for the kingdom work of Jesus Christ. And as in my introductory video that I went over, of course, our foundational principles are found in the Bible. As a Reformed Presbyterian Christian, that is my firm belief that it is the Holy Scriptures on which we need to build the foundations of our society, our culture, our families. Pick the topic. And hopefully, as this channel develops and grows, I'll add as we go. But I did want to create video number 2 here to talk about a secondary document. Now, there are those that decry the use of any kind of extra biblical document, but that is a falsehood, because I've been in innumerable churches throughout my life. I've been in Baptist churches, Presbyterian churches, I've been in liberal churches, Pentecostal churches, Methodist churches, many, many different churches. I've also read about churches that I actually haven't been to. I have talked to true Muslims in Saudi Arabia, where we exchanged ideas and witnessed to one another about our different world views. But in order to build anything, whether it's a house, whether it's a family, whether it's a nation, we need a foundation on which to build. The foundation that I want to talk about today is something called the Westminster Assembly. The Westminster Assembly. Back in the 1600s, a group of eminent men were called together by the Parliament in London, in England, to craft and create a series of documents to guide the religious worldview of their day. And they created the Westminster Confession of Faith and many other documents. In fact, I'll read them off to you. You have the Confession of Faith, which you can see on your screen here. You had the larger catechism, the shorter catechism. You had the Sum of Saving Knowledge, the National Covenant, which was created actually in Scotland as a Scottish document, but the idea behind it was brought into England by the Scottish divines, and they crafted and created together another document called the Solemn League and Covenant, which we'll discuss. Then they created a directory of public worship. They crafted the form of Presbyterial church government and the directory for family worship. Covers a lot of ground. And just so you know, it does come in one book. And as you can see, mine's a little worn because I do refer to it quite frequently and use it a lot. Now, as an introduction, there are several of these documents available online. You can find them in innumerable places. I am on ChristianityApplied.org, which is a fantastic resource for you, especially as it refers to kingdom building and kingdom preparation. But our focus for this video is the Confession of Faith and some of the associated documents. As you can see, it's 33 chapters that run the gamut from the Holy Scriptures all the way to the Last Judgment. So it deals with a lot of different topics. But what it does, handily for you, is it lays out the actual Christian biblical doctrine of these different topics, so that you have a foundation on which to build your application and interpretation of the Bible. So the two go hand in hand. This is primary, this is secondary. It's not like we're trying to replace the Bible with this Confession of Faith. No, the Confession of Faith explains the Bible. Very few people that I know of feel comfortable just delving into the scriptures and making sense of them all by themselves, because these are heavy, weighty books. So thankfully, many men throughout the ages have sat down and taken the Bible and examined it and applied it and crafted things called confessions or creeds to guide and direct. Now, if we would return to these historical Christian documents, we would do a lot to reset the foundations of the church. The church itself today is in desperate straits. She's been weakened by enemies both within and without. She's under constant attack, not only by her friends, but by her open enemies and foes, like atheists and agnostics and deists and many, many others. So if we are going to fix the world, we need to fix the church first. The church is the foundation of everything else. Religion fits everything together, whether it's law, whether it's say the arts, whether it's science. They all have a series of presuppositions or beliefs on which they're built, and that's that foundation of which everything rests on and supports. And of course, I know there's many people that would disagree with me on this topic, but I'm not going to delve into the arguments for or against this worldview building. In this video, I want us to stay focused here on the Westminster Confession of Faith, because in kingdom preparation, the church itself needs to re-examine, get back together, sit down, and say, what is truth? And that truth is found in Scripture, with the best, so far in history, explanation of it being the Confession of Faith. So as you can see, we talk about all of this, and of course, the very first chapter is the Holy Scriptures. And they set out what is the Holy Scriptures. So it's the Old Testament, and it's the New Testament. The books are laid out for us with a brief explanation of what and why. And then, as you can see, it gives us Scripture proofs. So as we're going through, maybe we have a question. Let's see, like this statement: all of which are given by inspiration of God to be the rule of faith and life. Well, what do they mean, the rule of faith and life? Well, the scriptures that they supply, that is 2 Timothy 3:16. So we can actually come right out here and look at 2 Timothy 3:16. I am a King James Version person. I prefer the King James Version. I believe it's the most faithful translation that we have for us. And so what it tells us is every scripture is inspired of God and profitable for teaching, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in that which is righteous. So we can see that as we read through this, we have scriptures that it refers us back to as the source of the ideas presented to us in the confession. Extremely important. The Confession of Faith, the larger and shorter catechisms, are things that we need to relearn and implement if we are going to be working in rebuilding the kingdom of Jesus Christ, both in the church and outside the church. Now, why do I say both? Well, because Scripture does speak to things. Let's look at chapter 23 of the Civil Magistrate. And here we have an explanation of the biblical doctrine of civil government, all set up for us so that we can learn, so that we can be instructed, and so that we can figure out what a right civil government would look like and be implemented as. Now, this is just the briefest of introductions, but it's here so that we can learn from this the biblical doctrine of civil government and then apply it. Marriage and divorce, same principle. Of the church, most people probably that'll watch this channel go to church. So I was having a discussion with a guy years ago. One time he was a faithful church attendee, but his life was ungodly, to say the least. So I asked, I said, so tell me, why did you choose the church that you attend? And he just gave me a blank look because he had never considered the question before. So I ask you, why do you attend the church you attend? Why? Is it just because your family's always gone there? Or is it because they present the truth, even when it's uncomfortable? It's important to know why you attend the church you attend. And here in the Westminster Confession of Faith, we have chapter 25, which is of the church. And it explains what the church is and how you can identify a good church, a church that teaches the right doctrine. Now, most churches in America today, and maybe around the world, decry doctrine. Oh, doctrine divides, they say. Well, yes, it does. And in fact, in the Bible, there are many instances where doctrine divided, even in Paul's day. It caused separation even between him and Peter, two of the most eminent men on earth at the time. Doctrine divided them for a short period of time until they worked it out. In the early days of the church, all of those early councils that flowed out of doctrinal division healed the church via the explanation of correct doctrine. And I'm going to do a series on the councils and their importance to us today, but I would refer you to R.J. Rushdoony and his YouTube channel, because he does an excellent series on the importance of these early church councils, the 7 ecumenical councils, and why they're still important today. And in fact, the church needs to return to that basis of those early ecumenical councils if we are to correct our course and get rid of all these heresies that have invaded the church and weakened us from within. And that's exactly what has happened. But I wanted to introduce you to the Westminster Confession of Faith and the associated documents with it, because this is one of the foundations that we need to reclaim in order to be going about the building of Christ's kingdom here on this earth. Because as you can see, it talks about a large number of things and makes an excellent application of them. Now, also briefly, we have the larger and shorter catechism here for us on this website, the Directory of Public Worship, Family Worship, Form of Presbyterian Church Government, and the Sum of Saving Knowledge. Get to know these documents. Start reading them for yourself. I'll drop a link in this video for your ability to be able to purchase this book so that you can have all of the documents together. I will only mention briefly that the covenants, the National Covenant and the Solemn League Covenant, deal explicitly with civil government. So as you can see, these Westminster Assembly Divines, as they're called, dealt with a broad range of topics. And since we've forgotten them and no longer want to apply or use them, we have really gone astray when it comes to those areas of truth as well. So get out there, get yourself a copy of the Westminster documents, and if you can't afford that, they're here online for you as well. Start building that foundation. Start preparing for the work of Jesus Christ in your life and in the lives of your community, of your county, your city, your state, and the nation. Have a great day. Be much improved. Take care.